Proper diaphragmatic breathing is a central foundation practice for one who wishes to move on to advanced meditation, to experience the highest direct experiences of yoga. One of the challenges to breathing diaphragmatically is knowing exactly where the diaphragm is located and how it works. It is common for practitioners of meditation to spend years or decades practicing abdominal breathing, chest breathing, or even clavicle breathing, while incorrectly calling it diaphragmatic breathing. When breathing diaphragmatically, the muscles of the abdomen, chest, and clavicles are not involved. They remain still while the diaphragm gently contracts on inhalation and releases on exhalation. Here is a photograph of a cadaver showing the position of the diaphragm. It is below the area of the chest muscles and above the area of the abdominal muscles. Notice that it is shaped like a dome or a bowl turned upside down. When the diaphragm muscle contracts, the ribs expand or flare slightly outward to the sides. The top of the diaphragm comes down. This pulls the bottom of the lungs downward, so as to bring air into the lungs. In this photo, the lungs have been removed, revealing the position of the diaphragm below them. When the contraction of the muscles is released, the lower ribs naturally come inward. The top of the diaphragm also moves upward, allowing the lungs to naturally empty. In this natural diaphragmatic breathing, the clavicles, chest, and abdomen remain still and at rest. In deep diaphragmatic breathing, the upper abdominal muscles are first used to assist the emptying of the lungs by pushing in and up slightly, so as to more completely exhale. Then inhalation is done with the diaphragm, allowing fresh air to come into the lungs. The upper abdominal muscles themselves are not shown in this picture. Although much of this cadaver has been cut away, it is easy to see that the muscles of the chest area are not very close to the diaphragm and therefore not needed for diaphragmatic breathing. Here is a view of the diaphragm with the upper portion of the body removed. The dome shape of the diaphragm is clear. From this view, it is very easy to see how the contraction of the muscle causes the lower ribs to move outward, effectively pulling the diaphragm downward, somewhat flattening the dome shape, causing the lungs to come downward and, in turn, bringing air into the lungs. When that contraction is released or relaxed, the lower ribs come in, while the top of the diaphragm gently returns to an increased dome shape, allowing the lower lungs to move upward, which, in turn, releases air from the lungs. Since the breath is coming from the bottom of the lungs, rather than the top of the lungs, as in chest breathing, more air is exchanged with each breath, making diaphragmatic breathing far superior. Also significant to note in this process of diaphragmatic breathing is the proximity of the heart and the diaphragm. When diaphragmatic breathing is slow, steady, and without pauses, there is a natural synergy between the lungs and the heart, which is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. When breath is properly regulated in this way, the heart speeds up during inhalation and slows down during exhalation. This can literally be felt by mindfully checking the pulse. This allows the heart and nervous system to go through a natural resting cycle with each breath. Without this, the heart misses its relaxation part of the cycle. Also significant is the right vagus nerve, which is a critical part of the autonomic nervous system and its fight or flight response. Here is the location of the right vagus nerve, seen from the right side of the body. Notice its relationship to the heart and the diaphragm. The right vagus nerve works with the heart along with the lungs. Physiologically, the motion of the lungs interrelates with the autonomic nervous system and induces the deep relaxation necessary for advanced meditation. Thus, the coordination of the breath, the right vagus nerve, and the heart are extremely useful not only for health, but also meditation. Breath is an extremely useful part of the systematic process of yoga meditation. which leads one beyond the breath to the finer, subtler practices and experiences. There is tremendous value in understanding the process of breathing, and in diligently, gently practicing diaphragmatic breathing.